Good morning and welcome back to Coffee with Tom and Joanne. I'm Tom Matthews.
And I'm Joanne Toronto. Thanks for joining us this morning. So today we wanted to talk about something that's been brought to our attention that we're starting to see in the market is, buyers who are hiring or working with multiple buyers agents. And I think this is a timely topic because, the shortage of inventory has been felt by everyone. There's such an intense demand for homes in our area and not enough supply to satisfy that demand. And so we've recently met with two new buyers who have indicated that they're working with multiple agents in a small territory. Because sometimes working with multiple agents can be a good thing. And one example of that would be, you're open to living on the North Shore or the South Shore of Boston. And, you want to have an agent on the South side and an agent on the North side, because getting from one to the other can be 45 minutes to an hour, right? But, what happens when you are looking for a home and you're looking in a general geography and you've hired an agent from each town? So Tom, what do you think about that strategy of multiple buyers agents in a small geography?
I think one of the challenges is that, as we've found, Joanne, being out in the suburban marketplace, because we don't have the density that we have in the city, we oftentimes sell in multiple communities.
Right.
So, we're based in Concord, but we're selling in Acton and Sudbury, Wayland, Carlisle, Bedford, Lexington.
Right.
The overlap is just so common.
Right.
And I think the challenge you run into is that you have all these agents who are potentially running through the same houses and trying to send you stuff. And the biggest challenge I see is that it's a lack of understanding by the consumer on how we are compensated. Although Joanne and I do always put our clients' needs first, we are ultimately compensated by transacting a deal. And I think one of the challenges you run into is that if you feel like you have a buyer that's not really committed to you, the buyer may find that the agents aren't committing to them. Right. And although they think they're at an advantage having multiple agents running around for them, they may find they're at a disadvantage because, most agents have more than one buyer client. And so if a house comes on the market and they have two buyer clients, one they know is 100% committed to them and one they know is 50% committed to them, they may shy and put their attention towards that agent who's 100% to that buyer who's 100% committed to them, and take them in. Like, the house comes on the market on Wednesday, they're already in the house Wednesday night with the buyer that's 100% committed. Thursday afternoon, they call the second buyer, and the second buyer gets in on Friday. But by then, that first buyer may already have an offer written and submitted. And I think where the buyer thinks they're getting an advantage competitively, they're actually getting a disadvantage. I would almost say they're better off working directly with listing agents than having multiple buyer agents. But Joanne, tell the audience what would be advantages to committing to one agent.
Yeah. So I think the prospect of committing to one agent can be really overwhelming because it's a big decision. And it's the same thing when you're listing your home. Most people have a few different agents in. But one thing that I think is really important is, finding the right buyer's agent doesn't mean you have to work with 10 different buyer's agents in 10 different markets. You need to find a buyer's agent that makes you feel comfortable, who's available to answer your questions and take your calls, who's responsive when an email is sent or a property comes on the market. And I think those things can be vetted out fairly quickly over a couple of weeks. So I definitely don't fault people for wanting to work with more than one buyer's agent to get started, but it's almost like a small interview process where you could spend a couple of days, going out and looking at homes with one agent, spend a couple of days looking with another agent. But really, in your best interest, it is to choose the agent or one agent that will best represent you, because, having the experience of looking at multiple homes with the same agent will help that agent become more refined in what your tastes are. And if you're looking at houses in the town next door with somebody else, that agent that you have maybe you like that one better in the town next door, won't know about any of the other homes that you've looked at and won't know what your feedback was on those. And, buying a home with a buyer's agent is a journey. It's a journey of us learning about your lifestyle, most importantly, your finances, and keeping you in line with what makes sense financially for your family and making a financially sound decision on an offer. And, the more we know, the better representation we can provide. So we always recommend, meet a few buyer's agents. It's a great opportunity for you to get a feel for different styles and personalities. But ultimately, I feel, and I think, Tom, you would agree with this, that it's in your best interest to commit to one and giving it a go.
And I think, something that, Joanne and I, because we've been working together for 17 years. So something that we kind of stumbled on and made a mistake in was back several years ago, we hired buyer agents and brought people that had no experience into real estate and put them in working with buyers. And what we learned, the reason I say this was a mistake, is what we learned is that the value, the price you pay when you acquire the property is really, really important. And so we made the decision after going through this experiment that Joanne and I need to be buyer agents. So we are both back in the field, and we have been for like the last 3 or 4 years working with buyers. And the reason I bring this up in this call is that I believe one of the biggest challenges with a lot of these buyers right now is they have been saddled working with a buyer's agent who, 6 months ago was working in a restaurant. Or, no disparaging to anybody, because we all start at some point. But right now, with the market being where it is, having an agent who really knows what they're doing as your buyer's agent is so important. And I see that a lot of teams made the same mistake we made, which is putting inexperienced people out trying to work with buyers. And if you're looking to purchase a $2 million property, that is a huge investment, and you want that money protected. And so you want to have an agent. Joanne and I have over 600 residential sales under our belts. We know how to do a transaction. We know how to price properties. And I think that's something that people are yearning for. And until they find that person, they're free agents. They're working with multiple agents at the same time. Wouldn't you agree, Joanne?
Yeah. And I also think that there's, the acquisition cost is important, but it's also buying the right house.
Yeah.
How many times, Tom, do we see somebody who wants to make an offer on a house that we just really don't feel the house is the right one for them? And there could be reasons like, they say, oh, at some point we want to have more kids, or we want to get a dog, or any of these lifestyle choices, or we're soon we're going to be commuting to here instead of here, or we want our kids to, to attend this particular private school when the time comes. When you start thinking 10 and 15 years down the road, we want to make sure that the home that your family gets into is the one that you're going to still be happy in 10 years from now. Agreed. Because real estate is a long-term investment. And yes, we understand that people move, oftentimes move in 3 to 5 years, but that really can't be your financial plan. If it works out, that's great, but your financial plan should be to invest in a piece of real estate that if you needed to stay in it for a long time, that you would be happy, and that the property offers either what you need or the flexibility to get what you need in the future, or what you predict you'll need. Because we don't want people in the position where they say, 2 years after buying their house, oh, we've outgrown this. Because we need people to understand that real estate is, a long-term investment. So to get into the right property, it takes time. It takes getting to know each other, and it takes a critical eye from us to be able to identify, what may not be the right purchase for you for the next 10 to 15 years.
I think that's a great summation, Joanne, today, of having an advocate, a singular buyer's agent on someone's team. So if you are in the market thinking about buying a home, we are accepting new clients at this time. So feel free to reach out to us at info@Tom and Joanne Team. But I want to thank you for watching A Coffee with Tom and Joanne Team. I'm Tom Matthews.
And I'm Joanne Toronto. Cheers.